Hey community, this is Dr. Hugh, and we got an awesome webinar on Candida and H. pylori and why I deem them to be the evil twins. So H. pylori, and Candida, they work hand in hand, so they can cause havoc on a lot of people's bodies. And when I do the correct testing on people, is a lot of people have Candida and H. pylori and have no idea that they have it, and that's literally the root cause of people's problems when it comes to not getting wetter, not getting better. So here we have the comparison side to side. In here we have Candida, which is a fungus in here. You see this is a fungus. And then we have H. pylori, and that is actually a bacteria. So there are two different species. One's a fungus and one's a bacteria. But one of the things about these two, the evil twins, they work hand in hand. And if you have both of them, the problems are about 100-fold worse because they each work together, and in unison, they are even more of a bigger problem to handle and get rid of. All right, so here's the symptoms, the top symptoms of H. pylori. You can see right here with H. pylori. So we have burning stomach, bloating, frequent burping, nausea, loss of appetite, unintentional weight loss, stomach ulcers, and then we have dark stools. Among other things, which is very, very common for H. pylori, you can have a bunch of autoimmune disease. Autoimmune disease has been linked to Sjogren's disease, psoriatic disease, thyroid Hashimoto's disease, irritable bowel, Crohn's disease. So H. pylori causes autoimmune disease. So you don't want to mess around with H. pylori. So if you're out there suffering with mystery diseases and you've never had this advanced stool test, which I'm going to be going over here shortly, it's called the GI map test. You want to get this done because this can connect the dots for you and you can start to recover, which is ultimately what God designed us to do. He wants us to be healthy and well. Now here we have Candida, 8 symptoms of Candida right in here. So I find this very frequent in here, frequent UTIs, especially in women, digestive issues. So if we look in here, so frequent painful urination, bladder discomfort, bacterial and fungal cases because they go hand in hand, digestive issues, persistent gas, bloating, abdominal pain, swelling, alternation between constipation and diarrhea. So if you're switching from constipation and diarrhea, you could probably have H. pylori and Candida working together to make your problem that much worse. Chronic fatigue, yes, Candida can definitely cause chronic fatigue in here, constantly feeling wore out, lack of energy, and difficult with daily tasks. Brain fog, difficulty concentrating, memory problems, feeling mentally cloudy and spaced out. And I want to spend some time on this. Now, why would you feel cloudy and spaced out? Here's why. Because Candida produces a chemical called aldehyde. Aldehyde, guess what? It's an alcohol. So if you have a Candida overgrowth, it produces this byproduct, which is aldehyde, which is alcohol. And if you've ever had too many drinks or got a little tipsy, you know what happens to your brain. So day in and day out, if you have Candida, this is what's happening. It produces toxic waste, poop, right? And one of these things is aldehyde. On top of, if you have an H. pylori case, H. pylori produces a ton of toxins, so that can make your brain fog that much worse. So we want to get to the root cause of this problem right here. Vaginosis, I find this very, very common. I find number 5 and number 2 very, very common in women. So maybe you've had a long-standing chronic vaginosis that you have never been able to get rid of, and it ends up to be Candida and an H. pylori infection that no one actually took the time to figure out. Oral thrush, skin funguses right in here. And I find this very common is what I see clinically is I see people that their feet, right? They have fungus on their feet and they can't get rid of it no matter what they do. And it ends up to be a Candida infection that no one ever checked. And then finally, we have 8, we have carbohydrate cravings. Now, why would we have carbohydrate cravings? No matter what, you cannot fight the urge to eat these sugars. Why? Because Candida feeds on that. That's the number one fuel source is sugar. So if you have Candida overgrowth and H. pylori, guess what's going to happen to your gut? It's going to get overran with a bunch of nasty, nasty things. So here, this is a very simple protocol that I've come up with, and I'll be going over this as we go through the workshop. So first thing here, what we want to do, we want to build your stomach acid. So you're probably you probably don't have enough stomach acid. Then what we want to do is we want to cut off the fuel supply. So we want to cut off the fuel supply to the H. pylori and the Candida, and then finally what we want to do, we want to repair the barriers. So this is what I've deemed here, or what I call the gut defense trio. So there's 3 things that you want to do. Now when clients come to me one-on-one, we do very, very specific protocols, but this is a very broad, basic protocol that's helped lots and lots of people. So let's get into this test right here. So this test here, this is a test, it's from Diagnostic Solutions, so you can see that right down here, Diagnostic Solutions, and this is called the GI MAP test, the GI MAP test, and you can see here it checks for H. pylori, so you see right here we have H. pylori, and this is high right here. You can see right here, it is high right there. You can see the reference range, that's what you want it less than this right in here. Now in here, what I like about this test here, it also checks for what they call virulence factors. Virulence factors. So what are these virulence factors? So these virulence factors, the way I would describe this, it's like you can have the standard issue H. pylori. So H. pylori is, I'm just going to use an analogy, is like a BB gun. So you have H. pylori, a BB gun. Then you can have this virulence factors in here, and you can see down here, this is positive. He has virulence D factor. And I describe these things as bigger guns. So instead of have a BB gun, you might have a pistol, you might have an AK-47, you might have a bazooka, right? I mean, I'm not a big gun guy, but that's the analogy. So when you do these tests, and if you have these virulence factors, what does that tell you about your H. pylori? It's a lot worse. It's a lot stronger. Your H. pylori is doing this to your gut, causing tons and tons of havoc, which we want to get rid of. All right, so this is the H. pylori test. You can see it right there, up there. And then on top of that, we have Candida. And you can see Candida is high right in here. So that's the range. So this test right here is very thorough. It's a stool sample. It's very, very easy. How easy is this to do this? It's simple. We mail you this kit in the mail. You can get this anywhere in the United States. In fact, in the world, you poop, you mail it in, and it's very simple. And then we figure out exactly what's going on with your GI system. And the research shows this, that if you haven't heard this, check this out. 80 to 90% of your immune system is located in your small intestine, or located in your gut, meaning your small intestine and your large intestine, 80 to 90%. So if your gut is not well, you are not going to get well, right? So what this GI MAP test does, it's a very specific roadmap for you to figure out what's going on with your gut and where things may be failing and what needs to be done. So let's look at, this is a normal gut. Like here's, we're going to see this normal gut right here, and then we're going to go over a leaky gut. So what I want to do here real briefly is just show you what a healthy gut should look like and what an abnormal gut looks like, so you can have some reality on, wow, okay, this is what's happening in your gut. Because if you're suffering from any kind of chronic degenerative condition at all, you might not even have gut issues, but you could still have these bugs growing in your body and have no idea this is occurring until you get the proper test. So in here, we have, these are the good bacteria in here, so you can see this. This is the normal gut. And this is real critical. This line, this mucus, you see this mucus here? This is very, very critical for healthy gut flora. Now, why is this? Just like your tongue here has saliva on it, right? That's a mucus saliva membrane. Your whole entire small intestine and your large intestine has this same thing. And in fact, this saliva, this mucus, is your first line of defense. That's your first line of defense. So if you don't have this mucus layer in your gut, bad bugs and bacteria can get directly into your gut or in your bloodstream and start causing problems. So in here, this is 1 cell thick. So the way God designed us is this would be your food up here, right? This is the food. So it's 1 cell thick, and then this is your bloodstream. So imagine that. You have 1 cell thick, and then it's into your bloodstream. So the your intestine is the one thing that's exposed to the outside. There's not any other organ that's exposed to the outside environment except your gut, right? So this makes it very, very critical. So in here we have these, what they call these tight junctions in here. You can see this very tight, tight, tight. You can see the mucous membrane is very healthy. So this is healthy. This is what we want to see right in here. Now, when people have Candida, when they have H. pylori, check this out. What happens? What do you see right here? What do you see with the mucous membrane? The mucous membrane is what? the mucous membrane is literally gone. So just imagine having a super, super dry mouth. Like if you have a super dry mouth, things are going to start to dry out. What's going to start to dry out? The cells are going to start to dry out. If the cells start to dry out, they cannot produce the functions or the things that they should produce. So in here, you can see these little hand things right in here, these little fingers right in here. You see those little fingers right in here, those little things right in here. Those are actually called, those little fingers there are called brush borders. And you have trillions of these little things right here, and they start to break down food. So you can see when you don't have this this mucous membrane, these things get irritated. What happens to the tight junctions? You see this tight junction here, it starts to open up, right? It's open up, it's broken. What happens in here? This is a little toxin, right? This is a toxin, gets in your bloodstream right in here, goes in your bloodstream. We have gluten, right? So gluten is really bad in your gut for some people. It can tear these tight junctions apart. Then you have these big gluten particles. That's a gluten particle right in there. That gluten gets in your bloodstream. And then we have the bad bacteria in here. The bad bacteria gets in here. And guess what? Are you healthy or sick? You are sick. No. For some people, they don't even have GI issues. Or maybe they have like little slight bloating and that's it. But they have tons of bad bacteria, tons of Candida. H. pylori, they have no idea about it. And it's literally tearing their gut apart. So you can really see what's happening here. And then when this stuff gets in your bloodstream, because your bloodstream is not used to seeing bacteria and big food particles, it's not used to seeing that. What happens to your immune system is it gets revved up. You get chronic inflammation, and every disease known to mankind, guess what, grows in a body that is inflamed. So this is really, really bad. So these are just some comments I want to go through right here. So in here, so when H. pylori and Candida, specifically Candida albicans, co-inhabitate the GI system tract, they co-inhabitate the gastrointestinal tract, they don't just exist side by side. They form a synergistic relationship that makes each pathogen more resilient and damaging than it would be alone. So what's it saying? It's saying if you have both of them, the effects are 10 times worse. They call it the Trojan horse strategy. One of the most fascinating and problematic interaction is that H. pylori can actually live inside Candida. Yes, H. pylori can actually live inside Candida. Let me show you this slide right here. So this is the size of Candida. So this is the size of Candida. This whole thing is Candida right here. And in here, you see this is H. pylori. So H. pylori can literally get inside a Candida there, and it can hide in the Candida. And guess what? If it hides in the Candida, your immune system can't find it. This is why it's stealth. Like you don't actually know that Candida is there because or the H. pylori is there because it hides in the Candida, right? So in here, protection from antibiotics. Inside yeast, H. pylori is shielded from the stomach's immune response and more importantly, from antibiotic treatment. Environmental stability. Candida provides a stable home for the bacteria, allowing it to survive even when environmental conditions in the gut are unfavorable. So we really want to figure out what's happening with Candida, and if you actually have Candida, here's one thing that they do. They create biofilms. Both organisms, Candida and H. pylori, produce biofilms, right? They are master biofilms builders. And what biofilms are is basically shields, right? They're shields around Candida. They're shields around H. pylori that doesn't allow you to get in there and actually kill the bacteria. This is why you need a systemized approach. When we're talking about they're shielded, your immune system can't find that, right? So this is where if you do a functional medicine approach, we can actually get in there and we can bust these biofilms up so we can actually get rid of the H. pylori. Chronic mucosal inflammation. Both pathogens trigger the immune system, but together they create a double hit in the gut, and they call this leaky gut. And if you have leaky gut, you're also going to have what they call leaky brain. So leaky gut and leaky brain go hand in hand. Now, another critical step that I want to go over here is H. pylori survives by producing an enzyme. All right, this enzyme is called Urease. So just stick with me, all right? Just stick with me. This is one word I want to make sure you understand, which neutralizes the acid around it. So the H. pylori produces urease, which neutralizes the acid around it. This creates a major problem because strong stomach acid is the body's primary defense against fungal growth. So let me just go over this. H. pylori produces this thing called urease, which is pneumonia. If you ever smelt like cat urine that's been sitting around time, you feel that you can smell that ammonia. Or if you've ever gone into a nursing home and you smell, that is actually ammonia smell, right, from urine. H. pylori produces urease, which produces ammonia. Now, why is this so significant in here? Is when H. pylori successfully weakens the stomach, causing the pH to rise from a healthy 1.5 towards a more neutral 4 or 5, it removes the acidic barrier. This creates a perfect alkaline learning greenhouse that allows Candida to bloom in the stomach and migrate into the small intestine, potentially leading to small intestinal fungal growth or small bacterial overgrowth. So let me show you a picture of this. So I want to make sure that you can understand what's happening. So this is your stomach acid. This is stomach acid. So in your stomach, it has a pH of 2, right? So this is acidic. Now in here, you can see this is ammonia right in here. So the urease right here, the urease will cause increased levels of ammonia. And you can see here, ammonia has a pH of 11. So ammonia has a pH of 11. And we have stomach acid, which has a pH of 2. So what does this mean? Our first line of defense for any bugs, viruses, whatever it is the is the acid in your stomach. Now, if you have H. pylori, the H. pylori produces this enzyme called urease, which produces ammonia, which basically eliminates your first line of defense, which is your stomach acid. Like, this is very, very critical. So instead of having a pH of 2 right here, you might have a pH of 5. And if you have a pH of 5, guess what? Bugs grow. H. pylori grows more. Candida grows more. Pathogens grow more. So stomach acid of 2, right, which is right in here, the stomach acid of 2 is very critical. Stomach acid of 2 is very critical in here to kill bugs. And if we don't have that, it goes up to 5. This is where things can cause major problems. So when we look at this person right here, you can see I showed this already, H. pylori, positive. So what do we know? We already know that because it's positive H. pylori, that this is producing massive amounts of ammonia. It's killing or decreasing or eliminating the stomach acid. And when that happens, bugs can grow. So just imagine stomach acid is like the weed killer, right? If you've ever put weed killer on your yard, it kills all the weeds. This is what H. pylori, or this is what stomach acid does. It literally kills the bugs so that weeds don't start to grow. All right, and in here, this is the GI map test. Again, it's very, very simple. It's very, very easy to get. If you want to get this test, reach out to our clinic. The test is, it's about $320, and then there's an add-on which pushes it about $400. So what the labs cost me is what I charge all of my clients. Here's another great visual. You can see the H. pylori right in here, right? H. pylori. You see the tail there. And this is your stomach. So this is the mucus lining that I was talking about, the mucus layer. And you can see how H. pylori burrows into the mucus. It burrows in there. And then this right here, this causes that gel-like material to start to dissolve, right? So if you get H. pylori that's in the gel material and it produces urease, which is toxic, it literally will dissolve that mucus layer in the stomach and in your intestine. So the mucus layer that we're talking about here is this beautiful layer that we want right here. We need to have that mucus layer because this is our first line of defense. And when we have H. pylori, it burrows it in. And this is another great picture. As you can see right in here, you can see that there's just a small little H. pylori, the mucus layer. Then you get more and more. You can see that mucus layer start to diminish. And then when it gets really, really, really bad, it starts to eat away at the tissues, because these tissues right here, they can't survive with acid eating them, right? They can't survive with all the gastric juices literally touching in these cells here. So this is why these cells will eat away and start to degenerate and get really, really, really bad. So in my experience, very few people that I see have like tissues in the stomach that are bleeding, and very few people have that. right? But of course, some people do actually have that. So again, here's the top symptoms of H. pylori. We kind of went over those already. I just want to kind of go over these real quick to get, you can see another view of this right in here. Here's another great picture of this. You can see here, this is the H. pylori, right? It's coming in, it's eating this in here, it starts to burrow into the tissues, it causes problems. And then in here, H. pylori creates urease, which turns into ammonia. So this neutralizes the stomach acid, causing poor digestion and allowing H. pylori to thrive in the stomach. And then when it thrives in the stomach, it can get in your small intestine, and then it can go down in your colon. And then if you don't have enough, stomach acid is the first thing that starts to turn on your gallbladder and your pancreas to produce digestive enzymes. And if that doesn't happen, your whole GI system is all messed up. So the approach I take is north, your mouth to south, like your rectum. So mouth all the way south. You want to start with the mouth and go all the way down. So these are the first things that you want to start at. And you can just see right in here, this is just kind of more a chemical reaction right here. Urease is right in here, and you can see this produces ammonia. So again, just getting to the scale right here is we want to have the stomach acid in here at 2. So when you have the stomach acid there at 2, this is when things start to function better. Your acid is there, your digestive enzymes work, your gallbladder works, your liver works. And if you have H. pylori, it's not working. You're not getting that good concentration of acid. All right, so that's H. pylori. And then we have yeast right in here. We have yeast, and you can see this is a great graphic on what's happening. You see here, yeast just starts off in one little like cell right here, and then it starts to grow these hyphae in here, and these hyphae dig down into the one layer bilayer of your gut. And then when that happens, it starts to cause inflammation, and then big particles of food can get in here, bacteria can get in here, gluten can get in here, proteins can get in your digestive system. This is your blood right in here. And when this happens, this causes leaky gut and inflammation. So the Candida can grow and cause more of a significant problem. And as we talked about, the H. pylori and Candida, they go hand in hand. So if you have H. pylori, there's probably a high probability that you actually have Candida. Okay, now I hope this starts to make sense here. This is the infographic on Candida, and really the brain fog. I mean, I see this so many times with brain fog, chronic fatigue, and the gut's just really never addressed and handled. And you really want to test and not guess. This is a principle is you want to test and not guess. You want to test and not guess. So here's another nice graph. I like this. Here's healthy gut. You see this bacteria right here, and then you see the Candida. You can see this is the Candida, and the Candida is producing byproducts, aldehyde, among a lot of other things that cause systemic inflammation. And then you can see here how the Candida starts to grow down in here and starts to dissolve all these layers in your entire gut. And this right here, this is just another great picture of what it should look like. Again, this is healthy the mucin layer in here. And then when you have the leaky gut syndrome caused by H. pylori or Candida or many other different bad guys in here, you can see the bad guys swimming in here. You can see the inflammation in here, toxins. So that's what we want to try and avoid. Now, very simply, I want to go over this protocol. So this protocol right here is the gut defense trio. The gut defense trio is what I call this. And this is kind of just a very broad kind of protocol. Like when clients come to me, you have to really do specific protocols, but these are some of the protocols that I do on my clients when they have bad gut. So the first thing that we want to do is you want to do the HCL challenge right in here. And this is all the stuff is on my website. I'm not going to spend time going over the protocol because I've already developed lengthy videos on this, which is the HCL challenge. So it's a very simple protocol. You can do this at home, and you're just going to verify if you have enough hydrochloric acid or not, right? It's very simple. The next thing that we want to do is I recommend the majority of my clients go on what I call a carnivore-ish diet, which I recommend people do, which would be basically meat and fruit for anywhere from 6 to 8 weeks. And this is going to really eliminate all the processed food, all the sugars, all the gluten, all the dairies, all these things. So this is the diet. We want to starve these things, right? So one of the things in here, we want to rebuild the stomach acid. which is this protocol right in here, rebuild the stomach acid. So this establishes stomach acid, and it helps eliminate H. pylori. You can actually kill the H. pylori by putting HCl in there. And then in here, this eliminates the fermentable carbohydrates. It reduces the candida and small bacterial overgrowth for fuel and promotes gut lining healing. And then finally, here's a product that's has tons of research, is butyrate. And butyrate is a short chain fatty acid. And this is what your small intestine cells use and your large intestine cells use for fuel. So if you have bad bacteria in your gut, you're probably not producing enough fuel, short chain fatty acids, and that's the fuel that's going to drive your cells to function and heal much better. So this is basically the 3-system approach that I apply, and this is really we're talking like a broad kind of scope to get better. But if you want a very specific treatment plan, you want to schedule a Zoom call and we can see if we can help you. Also, the GI map test is very, very critical to know what's actually going on in your gut. So a couple things here. If you want to find more about this, you can go to my website right in here, or you can just Google my name, Dr. Hugh Wegworth, and my website will pop up. And this right here, this is the first, this is the home page right here. And then if you go to this right here, click this here and then hit blog. So you're going to want to hit the blog right here. And then when you go to the blog, this is going to pop up. This is going to be pop up. And then you just put the HCl challenge. Put the HCl challenge in there. And that's where, this is right here where I talk about the HCl challenge. If you go in here and you put carnivore right in here, you put that word carnivore in here, the carnivore diet is going to show up. If you put butyrate in here, butyrate's going to show up. So you're going to have access to all the different recommendations that I recommend to start healing your gut, which is very, very critical. Okay, so with that being said, if you liked this video, give me a thumbs up. If you found it on YouTube somewhere, if there's going to be like a description or something like that, I'll provide the links below so you can get more specific content. And remember, this is where there is help, there's hope. Where there's help, there's hope for you to get better. Take care. Bye-bye.